You're listening to a Brawl Network production. This is a podcast for the best fans in the NFL.
Are you in the Mafia?
Am I in the what?
It's time for a Bills Brawl podcast.
Second down and 7. Kelly with the time. Touchdown! Bill Brooks.
Allen. Deep shot. Touchdown! On the line to Stephon Diggs.
And Thurman breaking tackles at the 22. Inside the 10. Touchdown Buffalo.
I'm your host, Mike Lindsley. Thanks for checking in again, Bills Mafia, on another episode of Bills Brawl. You can get us on Twitter at Bills Brawl and me at Mike L Sports as well. We are nearing the regular season. The preseason is over. 3 preseason games in the books. The Bills pounded the Packers in the last one, and I can't wait for week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's news across the board with the Bills. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the games with our good pal, Nick Fierro. He covers the Buffalo Bills, and you can get him on Twitter. Just a fantastic follow. And he really understands and has the pulse of the team. That Twitter handle, of course, is at Nick Fierro. It's spelled at Nick, F-I-E-R-R-O, a Bills Central publisher for Sports Illustrated. Used to actually be a beat writer for the Eagles for 17 seasons as well. Let's get Nick in here and chat about the preseason, what he saw, the regular season, and Bam Johnson getting traded to the Panthers as well. Nick, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Oh, great to be on.
What did you take away from the Bills preseason? We have so much to get to, obviously, gearing up for the regular season. But, the 3 games that you saw in the preseason and, of course, against the Packers, I mean, obviously the offense is just humming. What were some of your major preseason takeaways?
I'd say that with the first 2 games, obviously, I think that they proved that they had pretty good backups. These guys could play. Of course, Greg Rousseau was in there as a backup the first 2 games. Looks like he's going to be a starter now. But, on offense, obviously, they didn't play any of their offensive linemen except for maybe Cody Ford, and I guess Deion Dawkins got in that second game because he was coming back from COVID. But, they rolled out their second team for the most part, offensive line, rotated in some, receivers who were, but none of their frontline guys, and played Mitchell Trubisky and the other 2 quarterbacks and Davis Webb, and they did pretty well. And, and same thing for the defense, not playing their top guys. And then by the time they got to their 3rd game, I was thinking, I don't know how other people feel, but I guess I would call myself old school. I feel like you need to get ready for the season by playing football. You can't just, sit all your regulars here. At some point, your guys have to get knocked around a little bit and play some real football. And so I thought Sean McDermott made the exact right call to give his starters some work. And it worked out pretty well for them, as we saw on Saturday. And I think they got everything they wanted out of it, right? I mean, I think that they proved they could play, too. They go down the field with that big drive, but they also self-destructed at times, and they needed to go through some of that adversity, too. Pre-snap penalties and things like that. They weren't, it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns, but they need to go through that before they hit the field against the Steelers, who I think really did a good job of preparing themselves in this preseason, too. They did play their regulars, maybe even more so than Buffalo. So, that could be a tough game. I mean, I don't know what the Steelers are going to be like this year, but last year they started out on fire. I think they won their first 11.
Okay. The expectation factor, the hype factor, fans back in the building, home and road, Allen's got his contract, all the things that are going into the Buffalo Bills chasing the Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl aspirations, all those expectations. Do you think this team can handle that hype and those expectations?
Yeah, it sure seems like they can. It's the guys kind of want to be here. They a lot of guys in the offseason took less money to come back. They told their agents, on uncertain terms, I want to be back here. So I think that they really expect to take that next step, but they want to, and sometimes those things don't always mesh. But I really think, and just look at the way that that they played, in these preseason games. You can't really tell a lot of times by that, especially in this last one, because the Bills' first teamers were going against the Green Bay second teamers. They didn't play their regulars, but they have some on offense. They can do a lot of things. I think they proved that part of it. If they want to run the ball, they can. It doesn't look like they are going to, but if they want to, I think they'll do a better job than last year. And I think that the defense, last year was the first year, I think, under Sean McDermott, where the defense maybe kind of underperformed. But that had a lot to do with some things, some injuries, and then they feel like Star Latulippe opting out had something to do with that. Probably it did. But he's back now. They've kind of shored it up, and they feel like they improved their pass rush, so much so that they were able to trade a guy yesterday, Dallas Johnson. And maybe he's not the last one to go. I don't know if they're going to keep 60 ends, but they have 6 quality guys there that they have to make a decision on.
Okay, week 1 against the Steelers. How crazy is that stadium, do you think, going to be?
Yeah, really.
Nuts, right?
I mean, yeah, they haven't had any fans in there since 2019 season, and that year was ended with some doubt. I mean, they did make the playoffs, but then they lose in the first. By the way, I'm still not over that peel back block. I don't know about you. That Cody Ford thing.
I know.
I know they won 2 playoff games last year, and but they should have won that other one, and it wasn't Cody Ford's fault. So much so that the NFL officiating crew came out with a video halfway through last season, if you remember, talking about how that block was actually considered a really good one, and they used that as one to illustrate something that's not a peel back block. The Bills don't have that penalty call. They probably kick the field goal and win the game there. But anyway, yeah, obviously Josh Allen wasn't the quarterback then that he is now. And so now you come back in 2 seasons later, and he was runner-up for MVP. And, I think he's going to do – I wrote this yesterday. I think he's got a really good chance they'd be even better this year because the team around him is better and because they've had the off-season program and because I think the defense might be a little bit better too.
When does the Allen, the anti-Allen hate stop? It seems as though he's one of the few quarterbacks in recent times, and certainly as I remember in my lifetime, who gets criticized when he gets pieces around him. It was like the anti-Allen people were there in the beginning, coming out of college, the accuracy problems. He's never going to be anything. He's, they traded up to get him. He's overrated. This is crazy. Why would you bring him in? Most people wanted Rosen or someone else over him, Lamar, whoever. And, then Allen gets digs. They go set a bunch of records, and the anti-Allen people, the Allen hate, comes out still with, well, it was digs. When does the Allen hate end? Will it end? I mean, does he have to win a championship? When does that stop?
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not really sure I've been exposed to too much Allen hate. I've just seen a lot of love everywhere. I guess there's always going to be some people that are just not going to be satisfied or, going to be looking for something there when something is not. But, yeah, you got weapons around him. They also made some changes to his mechanics and everything. But, look at what he can do. I mean, he's the total package. He's making all the throws, and he can run. When he takes off and he hits 19 miles an hour, and he's 6'5", 240 coming at you, that's a tight end with the wide receiver speed. Right. And now if you're a safety or whatever, a linebacker, you got to make a decision how you want to hit this guy. Or do you want to hit this guy? And it's crazy. And of course, he doesn't want to run that much, but when he does, and look at the throw he made, rolling to his left the other day. Not just a great throw there, he just floated it to Cole Beasley, but Beasley made a great grab too. Was able to protect himself because he knew he was going to be taking a shot right there. Everything was perfectly coordinated right there on that play, and it makes you think like, wow, this team could really even be better because they have an up-and-coming receiver in Gabriel Davis. And I think, I'm assuming that Isaiah McKenzie is going to make the team, and he's going to be a better receiver this year. He's just going to be so much better off. But I don't really know. I mean, I guess there's always going to be a certain amount of people that don't like Josh Allen, and if he stumbles a little bit this year, or maybe doesn't have the kind of season that he had last year, they're going to say, "See." But I don't care. I think that you did that once, you can do it again, and I think he will.
I'll tell you what, and those people just don't pay attention to football because there's not a Hall of Fame quarterback out there ever who didn't have crazy help. Aikman had Irvin and Emmitt Smith and Jay Novacek and probably the best offensive line ever. Montana had Rice. Like Bradshaw had Swan and Stallworth and Franco Harris, and he had the Steel Curtain defense. Jim Kelly had Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas. Like every Hall of Fame quarterback in the history of football, they have weapons. So Josh Allen, to me, it should be no different. I think he's really taken a major step, with pocket control. I don't know how you feel about that, but it just seems to me, even just before Diggs got there, and then when the offense started to explode, his pocket presence and control and that decision of, hey, I'm going to give that extra check down. I know when I'm going to bail now, on the pocket. I know a little bit more about what I'm doing in terms of being in this pocket and controlling that. Do you sense that now that he's just an A-plus pro in that department?
Yeah, absolutely. He's not as prone to take off down the field, and which is what they want him to stay in that pocket. And we saw it a little bit in the game on Saturday. He stayed in there, took some shots. He stood pretty tall under pressure, and knowing that and he did that. Whereas a couple years ago, he might have he might have been out of the pocket there. And I don't care how big you are, how strong you are. You're exposing yourself to injury when you're doing something like that. He had the concussion, I guess it was 2 seasons ago, or maybe it was 3 years ago. I don't know. But you don't want that happening. And he's really. I think he's got everything going for him now. I don't. Is there a weakness in this game? I'm not really seeing it. I really not. I don't know. Let the haters ring in, but I'm not really seeing anything there now. I think he's a really good, pocket quarterback, and when he has to, he's just maybe the best. He has a chance to be the best ever running quarterback when you factor in everything.
Okay, with the cuts and the trade of Daryl Johnson. Has anything surprised you here as we inch closer as we record this to the 53-man?
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, with Brandon Beane was saying on Saturday during the game that they were getting calls. So, it wasn't surprising that they ended up trading one of these guys away. I thought maybe it was going to end up being, Mario Addison, but, Mario Addison is, 34 years old. Daryl Johnson became expendable because they got Efe Obada, ironically, from the Panthers. And then, they drafted 2 guys that are looking really good, and Boogie Basham. And so, nothing. I guess maybe the wide receiver, I thought maybe they're going to have some tough calls at wide receiver too. There's no question about it. Brandon Powell. He was an early cut. I thought maybe they'd hold on to him a little bit longer, but really I didn't have him projected in my final 53 anyway. So, and sometimes when they let guys like that go, like a Brandon Powell go early, they're doing him a favor. They do it that way on purpose so he has a chance to catch all of us teams before all this stuff happens.
Do you think this regime, Nick, with Beane and McDermott, and Allen and Diggs and some of the guys who will be together for a few years, do you think they win a championship?
Yeah. I think they finally get over the hump. They seem like they have a really good culture in here. And, when you just look at the roster and stuff, I think it compares pretty favorably to what the Bills had, when they were going to 4 straight Super Bowls. They might not have, the Hall of Fame pass rusher, not yet anyway, but, people are starting to compare Risto with I don't know. They have the quarterback now. You know, I think the quarterback is everybody's been as good as Jim Kelly, and Risto might be every bit as good as Bruce Smith. I don't know down the road, but and they don't have a Hall of Fame running back either. But they have players. They're pretty well distributed here, and they have a pretty good culture, and they have weapons. They can throw the ball. They can play today's game, the schedule this year is not too terribly crazy when you look at it on paper. It might turn out to be different, but they can end up winning 12, 13 games in this one and getting home field. But I don't know that they necessarily need home field to even win to go all the way. I know that was a big deal last year, and they still haven't won a road playoff game in God knows when. But they should have beaten Houston, as we talked about a little earlier. And I think that if this team had to go on the road, they could do something. They were kind of flat against Kansas City last year, no question about it. But I don't, this is a different team, and I think that the team's still on the rise.
Tell you what, I think that, and we're talking some Bills football with the Bills Central publisher for Sports Illustrated. That's Nick Fierro. Get him on Twitter at Nick Fierro, spelled Fierro. The schedule, I'm with you. I think it's terrific, actually. I mean, you start out, right out of the chute, home 1 o'clock, boom, love it. Then you got a 1 o'clocker at Miami, still on the East Coast. You got another 1 o'clocker at home, and then you got another 1 o'clocker at home. If you got 3 of the first 4 at home, you can get out of the gate there, maybe 3-1, 4-0. Then you got the biggie at Kansas City, and then you get into the primetime deals with that one, and then the Monday Nighter against Tennessee. You get the bye in Week 7. But then you get right back to it again, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then back to some prime time with the Saints and Pats and so on and so forth. I think it's a pretty darn good blend. I think you have recovery periods here, Nick, where you can get back from the prime time. And I think, one thing the Bills don't have to deal with this year, they don't face somebody coming off of a bye. So, somebody preparing for 2 weeks for the Bills, they don't face that all year. So I like the schedule. I do.
Yeah. And I think some of these games are going to be changed to prime time as we go.
Probably.
Going into the flex scheduling and everything. So, but again, it's the Bills. It's such a small market that even though they're really good, that Big TV just doesn't seem to like the Bills that much because it just doesn't get the audience. But I still think that they're going to end up with more prime time games that are on the schedule right now, for sure. So. Yeah, but it is good. I mean, they have a lot of games here, and they have it set up so that they're not, they don't have anything crazy going on. Like you said, they don't have to turn around and do these weird things, and last 2 games at home too. That kind of means 3 out of the last 4 at home. So we're talking about guys. Teams, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Jets. So if they do kind of stumble, I think they can kind of get well in at least 3 of those last 4 games. I would watch out for the Patriots this year. I can't imagine the Patriots are going to be down a second straight year, but we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's going to be their primary competition, and Dolphins too.
Yeah, no doubt. I was just going to end with that, actually. Throw me a little bit more there. Throw you the line back out on the Pats, Dolphins, and Jets, kind of the season outlook for the division.
Yeah, I think that, look, we saw what happened with the Patriots last year. They didn't have their quarterback, and look what happened. And they plugged Cam Newton in there. It didn't work out. He might be the starter this year. He might not. I don't know. But they squeezed out. Didn't they win 7 games last year? How did that happen?
I know.
I don't know how they squeezed out 7 wins with that. Half the team opted out. That 20 guys opted out of last year. It's just crazy how they squeezed out that many wins. And then now they've gone crazy in free agency because they haven't been drafted very well, frankly, over the years. So they've tried to correct some problems with money, and maybe they have. And I think that they're going to be better at quarterback one way or another. Either Cam Newton is going to be a better quarterback or this kid that they drafted is going to be the real deal. Because now Belichick's not even committing to the guy. So I don't know. I see the Patriots as being a double-digit win team. I really do. And maybe the Dolphins are, too. It just depends on Tua and, where his head is. And, they're apparently, gung-ho. They're still gung-ho on trying to make the trade for Deshaun Watson. So, what's going on there? I don't know. But, and the Jets are the Jets. They still have a ways to go. They're a year away from being a year away. I think that they're compiling some talent on that team, and I think they're in the right direction with the quarterback. And but I don't see any way that they don't finish fourth in this division.
Bills Central publisher for Sports Illustrated, Nick Fierro. Get him on Twitter, a must follow, at Nick Fierro. That's at Nick, Fierro, the Buffalo Bills writer and insider for Sports Illustrated. Nick, thanks for the time. Enjoy the season, my man. We'll do this again.
Okay, my pleasure.